Hi, I'm Lars, welcome back to the shop. This video is about a 3D Snowman Shelf Sitter. Alright, they come in a variety of thicknesses. This is made out of 1/2 inch. I got one back here that's made out of 3/4. These stand a little easier than the 1/2 inch. I recommend the 1/2 inch. You put an eyelet on the back and hang it on the wall. We also have a third version of this. It's the brim and the nose of the 1/2 inch that goes on to the, instead of the 3/4 inch on the 3/4, it would be the 1/2 inch brim and nose. They're a little easier to see. But back to the video. You can make one of these if you have a jigsaw, a bandsaw, a scroll saw, a coping saw, or a rotozip. They take about 2 hours to make, and that includes painting and glue up and everything else. So make sure you plan your time. I'd give yourself at least a 1/2 hour of cutting it out. Now, if you're experienced and you don't have any problem cutting, using tools, probably get it done in about 15 minutes. So, without further ado, let's go get cutting. All right, so in order to make one of these sitting snowmen, you need a couple things. One, you're going to need a drawing. If I can pick it up here, you're going to need a drawing. You can find these up on in the link below, down in the description. You can find one of these, a link to one of these drawings that has it all broken apart. When they're done, of course, they're going to look like this. All right. So once you get your drawing together, once you get one of these drawings, you need to cut out all the little pieces of it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to glue them, or two-way stick tape them to a piece of project board, craft board, whatever you want. Something that's pretty smooth. You want a pretty smooth front to it. You can pick these up at your local box store. They're really not that badly priced, but if you can put them on any type of wood, I'm just saying, plywood would be fine because we're going to be painting it. So here, I have another one of these handy panels sitting here. This is a 1/2 inch piece. You could do a 3/4 inch piece. You could do oak. You could do whatever you want. Probably could make them out of 2x4s if you really wanted to cut them down and glue them together and stuff, or a 2x12. 2x12 start getting into the pricey range versus cutting them out of plywood. That's why I use plywood. So the big thing is you need some sort of, like, this is a Fiskars, has a little tape on it, or you can use two-way stick tape. And all you're going to do is you're just going to tape these guys down, which I'll show you that in a minute. Now, cutting them out, you can cut them out using a jigsaw. You can use a scroll saw. You could use a coping saw. Hopefully you guys can see this. You could use a rotozip, or you can use a bandsaw. Now, for me, any of those tools, I would feel really comfortable cutting this out with. Not a big deal. Today, I'm going to cut this out with a bandsaw. And the main reason is so I can set the camera up, you guys can see it being cut out, and how to get around the edges and stuff. This is really nothing really intricate. Whatever you end up using, I think you'll be able to get through it pretty easily. The only tightest part that you really have is on the nose. Now, if you're going to be cutting out with this with a jigsaw, use a very fine bit, fine tooth. Don't use something that's big and jaggy, because that's gonna leave marks that you're gonna have to sand out later. So when you're cutting out the nose, make sure you're gonna cut like most of it out while it's attached to a big piece of wood, if you're using a jigsaw or any other tool. You'll see what I mean when I get on this. I'm gonna cut that nose out pretty much first. All right, so let's get to cutting. So when you're laying out your pieces for your paper, I really recommend printing these things out. Print out, this is what these will come in if you go and get the file from the website in the link below in the description. But if you stick these guys down, it makes it easier to go through and just cut these out. If you're using a jigsaw, which by the way looks like this, make sure you put your nose or something near the edge so you can kind of trim that off and then come in and be able to get this out of here without having a lot of trying to get this thing clamped down, because it's not going to be the easiest cut. So what I like to do is I like to put it up like this. This way I can take my cut up to this edge and then stop, and then cut a little bit of this, maybe cut a little bit of this out first, cut the edge off, cut this little bit out first, and then I'll take and I'll cut up to somewhere, you know, and just cut it through. Then I'll use a sander, you know, a palm sander, like an orbital sander or something, and just sand that and round it off. This way my fingers are not hanging onto this piece of wood. All right, the next thing is, anytime you have a flat edge, try to tape that down near the edge of the piece of wood. So like the foot, you know, would go here. This foot's a little more rounded, but I would still, you know, try to bring it in here someplace. The body, again, I'd bring it down to the very bottom. This edge doesn't really matter where it goes, just as long as you can get it on the board, you know. So maybe like that, and then maybe put this guy, you know, I don't know, there's a flat edge. So maybe put this guy down here at the bottom like that. Now, you want to try to stay away from cracks, so putting this over on this side might be a little better, okay? So that kind of, you know, sums everything up. So let's get this guy taped down. All right, so now all I need to do is cut this off with, you know, a chop box, miter box. You could use your jigsaw if you have a jigsaw, or a skill saw or anything. The biggest thing is we're trying to whittle away all the wood on the outside. So, and I'll explain more of this when I get onto the scroll saw, or the band saw. As you can see, I've already cut the piece of wood off, and we're going to get started here on the band saw. So the first thing I said I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get this nose cut. So in order to do that, it's just putting it into the bandsaw. Now one thing you can see with a bandsaw, there is a limitation of this wall that's over here, okay? So as I'm coming around things, you're going to run into this. So you want to try to keep your wood out here in what I call the open field, all right? So you got to kind of watch on that. So this here with a little sanding, as you can see there's some roughness to this, but when you run this through a sander, a palm sander, or an orbital sander, stationary sander, whatever, you know, they have drum sanders, all kind of different sanders. This will all smooth out and it will look really nice. So let's get back and get this stuff cut out. What I'm doing here is I'm backing in and out, and the main reason for that is I need the ability to make the turn. And you'll have to do the same thing with a jigsaw or a scroll saw or any of them, because the width of the blade has got to make that turn to make a cut. I think the only one that you'd be able to do this with without back and forth is with a roto zip, because they've got like a mill type of bit, drill bit in it. And again, don't worry about being super close to the line, or if you even cut through the line, you have the ability to come back later with a sander and round these things out, straighten them up, smooth them out any way you want. Okay, so like this here, I could sand all this off, but I'm not. I'm going to cut it with the bandsaw, but I could if I needed to. There you go. So there's 1 foot. Now let's get rid of this. We can get rid of a lot of this wood. Times what you can do is, if you're in these lines, you can put what's called a relief cut in, like this. And they're usually really good to do when you get down to things like this where there's a point. And then when you're cutting, as you get to those points, the wood falls away and takes the pressure off of your bandsaw, scroll saw, jigsaw, whatever, and then see how much easier that is to cut? So when you have really long cuts that you're going to get into that you don't see a way out, highly recommend using relief cuts. This is something you're not going to be able to sand. If you really want a nice point there, you're going to have to kind of play around with it with the bandsaw or whatever. You can sand it, it's just a pain in the butt. So let's go out here and kick a release cut out here so I can get through all this. Relief cuts also prevent you from breaking a blade. So like this is just a cut to get this out of my way. So I can put relief cuts in. Because if I had to go back with the blade and back out through this, that could break my blade. Everything's cut out. Let's go over and start sanding. So now everything is cut out. Let's go over and start sanding. So now at this point you can just pull the two-way stick tape off. You could use these patterns for something else if you wanted to. If you wanted to do a second one. Also, if you did want to do two of these at the same time, you could always use a two-way stick tape. I don't know if I'd recommend using this, maybe the roll, and you could tape this board together. Okay, you could put two of them on top of each other and cut them out, and they would pretty much be identical when you were done. The person that taught me how to do all this stuff here was my father. My father used to do a lot of cutting out of little figurines like this and, you know, putting things together. But as you can see, with just a little bit, even before we've even done anything, we've got a cute little snowman going on here. Pretty cute, all right? Now we just need to get them all sanded up. So in order to do that, we just need to get a palm sander of some sort. Or, you know, if you want to just use regular old sandpaper, that's fine too. There is no wrong way to doing things when you're doing crafts. Like cutting this out. I do a lot of CNC work here, but on the channel. This could have all been cut out using a CNC machine. And maybe we'll put the patterns out there for that too. So anyway, basically, you're just kind of rounding these things out however you want, you know, taking the edges off. But being that this is supposed to be a carrot, maybe you want to leave some of those on there. Also, when you're using a palm sander or any type of electric sander, let the tool glide, don't push them together. If you're using just a hand sand, like if you're just doing, you know, some sanding with some sandpaper, you need to put a little bit of, you know, power into it if you want, just a little tiny bit, a little bit of pressure on it to get this, you know, to get it where you want it to be. But when you're using something that's electric, you want to let the grit do its own job. So if it's not doing its job, you know, then you're just really not getting anywhere. All right. There. That looks kind of cute. And then remember, so now we need to get these guys painted. I'm going to paint this orange, I don't know. You know, black feet, and then Snowman itself will become white, and then we'll get it assembled. now that we've got it all cut out and painted, this is what it looks like. Now I do like the little treatments my wife does. She usually puts like a little bit of snow on the top, like a little bit of white. Looks like they have a little bit of snow on them. I don't know if you can see that. Some other things that she does, sometimes she'll paint snowflakes at the top, like just a little kind of lines to make it look like a snowflake. You can put somebody's name on here, like we could put Thurman's on here. We could put 2023 if you want to give it away for a gift. You could also, sometimes my wife will put bells on here so that when you shake them a little bit they ring, or you can paint some holly up here, or whatever you want to do. Okay, there's all kinds of different ways to make these a little different. If you liked the video, please click like, please subscribe to the channel, and have a very Merry Christmas here in 2023.